So my name is Vladan Jevremovic. I'm a research director at iBwave Solutions Inc. My company, basically, they are RF planning and design source OEM for in-building planning and design. And we've been a standard for cellular in-building RF planning and design for many years in North America and Europe, and we also have presence in Asia and Middle East as well. Within iBwave, I am tasked with researching new technologies and improving algorithm for existing technologies. And we've been in business since 2003. So I have spoken about in-flight wireless Wi-Fi deployment, and this is a very specific segment of Wi-Fi. Namely, most of the Wi-Fi deployments have a very pronounced co-channel interference, or interference coming from non-Wi-Fi source like a Bluetooth. Whereas what we see in in-flight Wi-Fi deployment is completely the opposite. We don't have much interference coming from other Wi-Fi networks or other non-Wi-Fi devices transmitting at 2.4. What we see here is limitations by backhaul, because there is a satellite backhaul that gives you very limited throughput that can get to the aircraft, only at the order of about 80 to 85 megabits per second, which is not nearly enough if you have 200 passengers. So that is a very specific challenge that we have. Another specific challenge is that airlines would like to control that network, so we can't really see much roaming partners utilizing seamless roaming from one Wi-Fi network to another. What I mean by that is, for example, a large carrier may have a partnership with a Wi-Fi provider, and then, if I'm that carrier subscriber, whenever I detect a friendly Wi-Fi network, I'm going to hand over to that network. That's not going to be the case with any airlines, because they would like, number one, to have their own the control of their own Wi-Fi network, and number two is how can you be sure that you are going to be roaming on aircrafts that are only going to operate within a certain region, because those aircrafts get reassigned, and the aircraft that you may be used to flying within the US may be used to fly to Mexico, for example. And how can you then extend your coverage, which is a typical partnership for coverage in the US, internationally? So that wouldn't work. So those are the challenges that we have, and what we see right now is a lot of what they used to call friction points when you are actually onboarding for the first time. Airlines would prefer that you use your Premier membership, frequent flyer membership, to get on their Wi-Fi network. But if you don't have that, then you have to get your credit card out and type in the numbers and expiration dates and all that. And that really, customers don't really like that. And that is a big barrier to actually using those in-flight networks. So those are specific challenges for that particular vertical segment. Yes, so I just actually talked about that quite a bit, and what we are trying to address is specific of those industries that I already have covered in a bit, and then we have done quite a bit of explanation as to what are the monetization challenges, and we talked a bit about the state of current stakeholders, the satellite industry, and then the airline industry, and then also what the passengers are expecting, and how, let's say, tourist industry may benefit from commercials on in-flight Wi-Fi, etc., etc. So we have covered those in a bit. I would say that we have completed perhaps about 25% of that document thus far. And we welcome contributions from others, where we would cover the areas such as specific design challenges, and perhaps the user experience recommendation and interoperability and scalability, and what the best practices are for those. So there is still quite a bit of work done, but we are making a bit of a progress, and that is very satisfactory to me, as I'm a co-editor, and this is one of the first verticals that we are designing in detail. In the previous phase one, I was a co-editor and main contributor for the Wi-Fi deployment guidelines, which was far more general and was addressing pretty much all of the Wi-Fi deployments and all of the problems that you may encounter when you are deploying Wi-Fi network in any vertical. That was a very ambitious document, over 50 pages, but it addressed a lot of potential issues that you may encounter in Wi-Fi networks. So it is a really good overview project for all of the Wi-Fi verticals, and I recommend that you look into it before you look into in-flight Wi-Fi deployment best practices. We believe that the Wi-Fi industry is not fully aware of what we do and how our tool can benefit Wi-Fi design and planning. What we are really good at is analyzing from RF perspective complex 3D structures such as stadiums, such as airports and convention centers, and we are very good at figuring out what the capacity requirements are and what your performance will be under certain presumed traffic load, which is not something that other tools can easily do. So we are doing this for the brand name recognition, but also to show our thought leadership when it comes to RF planning and design. To that end, I was the main contributor to the phase one of Wi-Fi deployment guidelines, which addressed the deployment guidelines for many possible verticals, and I'm also co-editor for this in-flight Wi-Fi deployment guidelines, which focuses specifically on one vertical. So that's essentially why we are here, and I would suggest that others in ecosystem should come and meet major players in the Wi-Fi industry and stay on top of the development of new standards, and specifically 802.11ax, and how 5G is going to affect Wi-Fi in a 5 GHz spectrum.